morning.
Morning.
On Saturday, I went to a town hall meeting regarding some events that have taken place in the East Bay the past couple of weeks. And I was really moved by what I heard, and the past couple of days I've been doing a lot of reflecting, thinking about the situation, and last night wrote a reflection I want to share with you this morning entitled, I'm Hopeful. Each year at this time, we take a moment to reflect on the life of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We review his speeches, reflect on his sacrifices, discuss his dream, and enjoy an extra day off. But surely this year has to be different, or is it? Yes, it's 2009, the year of hope and change. Barack Hussein Obama is on his way to the White House, and many have said King's dream has come true. Racism no longer exists, and it's time to move on. Well, on this day I stand here conflicted with a heavy heart. My heart aches because in 2009 we are still addressing similar issues of yesterday. On New Year's Day, a 22-year-old African-American male named Oscar Grant was executed or lynched by a BART police officer at the Fruitville BART station. He was shot in the back while he was unarmed, handcuffed, and lying on his stomach. Some question what was happening before the camera started rolling. Some say Grant must have done something to provoke the situation. But I say none of that matters. A face-down, unarmed man, an unarmed person, handcuffed, should never be shot. Grant was a father, a son, a cousin, and a friend to many. I don't know him personally, but as an African-American male, I know I could have been Oscar Grant. I feel very safe, respected, and supported on the Branson campus. But I know on the weekend, wearing baggy jeans and a t-shirt, I'm viewed as a threat to some people. When will this stop? When will society get to a point where we live out King's dream and judge people by their character and not by the color of their skin? As a result of the tragic situation at the Fruitville BART station, many people have taken to the streets for protest rallies, marches, and demonstrations. I know many of you have seen these demonstrations portrayed through the media in a negative light. Yes, some of the protesters damaged property, but that was a small part of what has taken place over the last few days. What you did not see on the news was the peaceful aspects of the rally. They did not show the involvement and words of inspiration from teachers, ministers, community leaders, and hip-hop artists like Mr. Fab and Zion of Jan09. They did not show the Islamic and Christian communities working together on how best to move forward. It should also be noted that it was not until the people took to the streets that this case became national news. It was not until people took to the streets when the DA finally agreed to meet with community leaders. Many of us have great pride living here in the Bay Area, a place known for being liberal, a place where their environment is protected, the place that gave birth to the Black Panther Party for self-defense, the place that had the only congressperson, Barbara Lee, to speak out and say no to the war in Iraq. How could this shooting take place in the Bay Area? Well, this is what happens when we don't see our fellow humans as our brothers and sisters. This is what happens when people view people who look different from us as the other. Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. None of us can change what happened to Oscar Grant on that night, but we can find ways to make sure justice is served. We can make calls or send letters to the DA's office. We can be present at future rallies or support his legal team. This is not just about Oscar Grant, but this is about figuring out ways to do our part to help King's dream and vision become a reality. While I agree it is important for us to become better global citizens, let us not forget about being good local neighbors. I know there is a great need in countries outside of the U.S. and communities outside of California, but let's make sure we also tend to our own backyard. Marin City needs our help. Talk to Gia about Story Stars and find out how you can help kids learn to read. Talk with Georgia, Kylie, Jamie, and other volunteers in the LEAP program about teaching dance to girls from Marin City. The Canal in San Rafael needs us. Talk with Mackie and Interact and the ASA about the work they do with the daycare center, or with Allie and Shaylin about tutoring opportunities. The Tenderloin in San Francisco needs us. So talk with Harry, Nicole, and Kevin about feeding those who are hungry. The list goes on, but remember, not only do these communities need us, we need them. We learn a lot about life, others, others and ourselves when we volunteer. So even with all that is wrong with the world today, as I look at you, I remain hopeful. I'm hopeful because I know many of you who have fulfilled your community service requirement continue to volunteer because you have made it a way of life. I'm hopeful because I know some of you who love science will one day find cures to AIDS and cancer. You'll set up free medical clinics in underserved communities. I'm hopeful because some of you who love politics will be in a position of power where you can set policy and say it's never okay for someone to abuse the badge and shoot an unarmed, handcuffed person. I'm hopeful today because I know some of you will be extremely wealthy and will use some of that wealth to endow scholarship programs so that every student can have access to a Branson education. I'm hopeful today because I know some of you will go into corporate America, and when faced with ethical dilemmas, you'll do the right thing and it won't cost people their life savings. I'm hopeful today because I know some of you will be the first in your family to graduate from college, and you're going to open doors of opportunity for those coming behind you. I'm hopeful today because some of the best teaching in the country happens on this campus, so you have witnessed firsthand how to be a great teacher. I'm hopeful today because I have colleagues who care about issues of inclusion, social justice, and diversity. I'm hopeful today because I have colleagues who are willing to lean into discomfort and explore issues of privilege and advantage. I'm hopeful today knowing that we are still alive and have an opportunity to make a difference in this world. I ask right now that you look at your neighbor and say, neighbor. I say, look at your neighbor and say, neighbor. You can make a difference. Look at your other neighbor and say, neighbor, I'm great. I leave you the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. Thank you.